Welcome back. The liquidator of controversial company African Global Holdings, formerly Bosasa, has died after an apparent assassination in which his son was killed. Cloete Murray was injured in the shooting on the new road off-ramp on the N1 near Midrand in Gauteng yesterday afternoon. His son Thomas Murray was declared dead at the scene while he was rushed to hospital. But Cloete Murray died this morning. Paramedics have been reported as saying that both men were shot multiple times and they were shot in the head. This is just another example of gun violence, of a brazen hit and possibly political violence. Let's chat to Professor Mary De Haas, who is a violence monitor and research fellow at the University of KwaZulu-Natal School of Law. Professor, thank you for being with us. Cloete Murray collected evidence through his work as an insolvency practitioner, so that may have implicated some people. We know that Bosasa was implicated in state capture. The liquidators had subpoenaed ministers as well as the president's son. There's also something about the master's court and controversy that he was given that job. Gavin Watson and his family contested his appointment. So there are so many possible motives here. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I mean, I gather from what I've read about it that he was involved in a whole lot of potentially very contentious matters, making a lot of enemies. Obviously, it's difficult to say for sure, but I mean, it's a hit by well-trained people, and it's so typical. There's multiple gunshots. Do you know, was it automatic or handguns? Does anybody know what type of guns were used?
No, so I understand, and we're also looking at reports that two people on a bike came alongside the car they were traveling in and shot inside. So that is all the hallmarks, whatever gun was used, of another brazen hit, Professor.
Oh, look, absolutely. And the whole problem is that, and I hate to say it, I'm not surprised, I keep shouting about this because, I don't know, it's like, I said in a paper in the 1980s on political violence, how many deaths will it take till we know how too many people have died? And the answer's still, that's Bob Dylan, the answer's still blowing in the wind because this keeps happening and nothing is done to deal with the fundamental cause of it, which is policing in this country.
So, I mean, you would know about the political killings in KwaZulu-Natal, and many people saying, yes, we have the hallmarks of a mafia state, but that seems to be about politics. Are you saying the police would also be involved there?
No, look, it's about it. You can't, first of all, we've become, from the beginning of this millennium, particularly after 2009, we've become a criminalized state. Some people, it's been going on for years, some people are suddenly waking up. It's the same as a mafia state, where criminality is built into government institutions at all levels. It's become institutional culture. It's not just corruption that happens in all societies. It's integral to our government structures. For example, there was that fuss. I mean, I'm thinking now of all the police that are coming out and talking, senior police that are coming out and giving evidence about things that are being investigated within the police and no one is doing about it. So whether the motive is political, because, I mean, don't forget that the political killings in KZN are often linked to corruption, exposing corruption, or competition over lucrative tenders. So it's difficult to extricate, just what's a political killing often. But the crux of the matter is that you can get a hitman with no trouble at all, whether it's for the rapper that was shot dead a few weeks ago, or whether it's for somebody who's exposing very gross corruption. Yeah. And that's what we should be worried about.
And the question is, so if we're a mafia state, there are no big arrests that I can recall recently. Why don't we know who the mafia bosses are?
Oh, because, we have a long history in South Africa of organized crime syndicates. Apartheid was, we can argue, an organized crime syndicate as well as being a repressive state. And the organized crime has just flourished. But, I mean, mean, I know from the work I do with policing that it starts with policing, because what's happened in those years since 2009 are that policing has become integral to this whole mafia state. We can leave aside the organized crime. You just take crime intelligence. You know, what we have seen since 2009 is people put into the police without any competence, or fast-tracked in the police without any competence for political reasons or to feed nepotistic networks. I deal with a lot of decent police, but they're not in high positions. Some of them should be, but they've been sidelined because the politicians want the boss. Yes. You know, I'll give you one example. One of the people, there's two high-ranking police who've made very explicit protected disclosures. One of them is a brigadier called Mshangwani, who made an affidavit to the Zondo Commission. And another one is the former Deputy National Commissioner, Vuma. Now, if we look at Vuma, she was for years in the police, and she's the one that became notorious about the Grabber Institute. But if you look at the evidence that the then Inspector General of Intelligence gave to the Zondo Commission, they were just taking political instructions from the then Minister, Mbalula. Right. Now, she's made a protected disclosure, and some of the stuff in that, like, for example, the Minister and the grabbers, which are illegal. I mean, there's a whole lot of things, and that's on me. Anyone can access it. It's on the web. More recently, the brigadier who made the protected disclosure has made another one which also confirms some of what we know already. And he's a chartered accountant. They tried to get rid of him. They lost the case. I mean, if I were him, I hope he's watching his back. But he's just confirmed a lot of the stuff that Vuma's put in her affidavit about procurement. And he's also confirmed what we already know, that crime intelligence, what he's saying in this affidavit, is that actually the new head of crime intelligence appointed by the minister is called Khumalo. Khumalo's got no history in intelligence. He's there to take orders. He has a rather controversial history of corruption and conflict in the unit he was in. When he was heading the ministerial task team in this province, he grabbed cell phones of Thabiso Zulu. They also maliciously charged without any court warrant. He's now head of crime intelligence. Now,
all right, Professor,
it's to get rid of good people in crime intelligence.
Yeah, we've run out of time, but I think you've painted a picture of just so many arms to this, where the mafia state operates because it's in the state, because police are involved, because of political appointments. Incredible. Another very brazen hit. That was Violence Monitor and University of KwaZulu-Natal Research Associate Professor Mary De Haas.